Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Trigger warning, today I will be talking about a child abuse case that led to the murder of this little angel named Jung-in. Here's my disclaimers and here is her story. My name is Jung-in and I matter. This is my tragedy. Jung-in was a sweet 16-month-old baby girl from Seoul, South Korea, who was abused and tortured to death by her adoptive parent October 13, 2020. Jung-in was adopted by a couple with a biological 4-year-old daughter. The mother was an interpreter and the father worked at a broadcasting company. The parents even appeared with both daughters on a program by the Korea Educational Broadcasting System to promote adoption. Jung-in was just 16 months old when just 271 days after her adoption, she died at the hands of her foster parents. The adoptive parents brutally abused the sweet child for months, and it didn't go unnoticed. The first report came from a worker at the daycare center that both girls attended. She even took pictures. The daycare center worker reported to police in May that she found bruises on Jung-in's body. The parents said that they probably massaged her too hard and the police closed the case. Because of this, the parents decided to keep Jung-in home instead of letting her regularly go back to the center. From July through September, Jung-in only showed up at the daycare center 6 times. During this time period, however, the couple's biological daughter had 0 absences and was in regular attendance at the daycare. The immediate cause of Jung-in's death were initially announced as hepatic hemorrhage and ruptured intestine, colon, and pancreas, damage similar to that received in a car accident. But upon deeper analysis, it was revealed that these injuries were due to several months of abuse. October 2020, Jung-in was rushed to the hospital by her adoptive mother, where she died of a suspected heart attack. But after her death, it was discovered internal organs had been ruptured. CT scans revealed her abdominal cavity was filled with blood and air from her damaged intestine. Further analysis of her body indicated her internal organs were ruptured due to severe external shock, and there were traces of 10 past fractures. Medical personnel ultimately determined that Jung-in was the victim of severe child abuse. June 29th of 2020, a citizen witnessed Jung-in left alone in a car. This was only a month after the daycare first made the initial first report of the bruises. Again, the adoptive parents came up with some reasoning. They said that this was justified as it was an American-style sleep education. The investigation was delayed for over a month, but ultimately was not looked into and taken seriously. September 23, 2020, a daycare center staff member noticed there was a lot of weight loss and abuse evidence on Jung-in and took her to see a pediatrician. After the pediatrician did their examination, the doctor filed a report of child abuse and said that Jung-in needed to be removed from the home. Police requested that the adoptive parents submit more extensive medical examination of their daughter, and the parents did do that. They acquired documentation from their doctor who they knew, and the doctor diagnosed Jung-in with stomatitis and said that this was the result of the injuries that were being found on her. Therefore, the police disregarded the report of abuse, which was probably the last chance to have saved her. The second doctor also said he was unaware of any previous reports of child abuse. The day before Jung-in's death on October 13, 2020, a daycare worker had pleaded with the adoptive parents to take her to the hospital after witnessing Jung-in's inability to swallow or drink. Not only did the adoptive parents deliberately ignore the request, her adoptive mother admitted that the next morning she abused Jung-in for over an hour because she wouldn't eat. When her condition became critical, the adoptive mother nonchalantly called a cab, and the cab driver had to persuade her to call for an ambulance. Later that day, Jung-in was hospitalized for multiple cardiac arrests but succumbed to her severe injuries. Those who knew the couple were taken back when this situation had come to light. They said that the couple was very vocal about wanting to adopt. They had felt very strong desires in order to adopt and talked about their determination about adopting a child, even stating that they hoped for an adopted child more than they did for a biological child. Let's discuss the failures. Police's lack of immediate action after the first report of abuse, even though there was proof there with the pictures and the visible markings on Jung-in. Multiple abuse claims were filed and all were ignored or not taken seriously. Even when the pediatrician stated that she needed to be removed from her home, this was ignored. An anonymous police officer said the general concern around most officers is fear of retaliation when it comes to removing a child from a possibly abusive home, saying that once they remove the child, the parents can make a complaint citing excessive use of authority, which therefore would jeopardize the police officers' jobs that were involved. Holt's Children's Services could also be blamed for the initial placement of Jung-in. Jung-in was put in danger by them by allowing the adoption to go through. Holtz allowed the adoptive parents to adopt Jung-in on the very first day they met her. Holt's records reveal that they were also aware of the abuse as early as May 2020, yet they did nothing. Instead, they complied with the parents, even though the parents failed to explain the bruises of Jung-in. The parents kept trying to request to move the date back for a mandatory house visit. The Holtz agency allowed this to happen. Because of this delay, there was another chance missed in order to help save Jung-in. Jung-in wound up passing away just 2 days before the new rescheduled visit was to take place. South Korea adoption is controlled by private institutions, not government. Professor Kim Mi-jin said Korea has not yet been able to join the adoption convention due to the lack of government involvement in the adoption process. Professor Kim believes that in order for safe adoptions to occur, the government should conduct both a documented-based and a psychological examination of the adoptive parents to determine whether or not they are qualified, not only just in Korea adoptions, but also international adoptions as well. Child Protection Institution, managed by nonprofit organizations, was the third party responsible for failing Jung-in. Even though clear evidence of abuse was there, the institution did not recognize Jung-in as an abused child. Because of Jung-in's age, she could not express to the representatives what was wrong. Even though the representatives had accompanied police officers during their field visits for each claim that was made, they took Jung-in's silence as her not having an opinion and did not consider the fact that she simply could not verbalize what was wrong. And they did not take any other step further to find a way to get to communicate with this poor child. She was 16 months old. If there was anything she wanted to tell them, she wouldn't have been able to. And they never considered that, which again was another failure. Each worker has 41 children to be responsible for. In October of 2020, the Child Abuse Investigations Office was transferred from the Child Protection Institution to the government, but there have been no visible impacts of change. The adoptive mother was originally indicted for murder. She wound up getting involuntary manslaughter by child abuse and the father neglect. 7 police officers from the first 2 reports made and 5 from the other report that the pediatrician made will face disciplinary charges. A petition was made in order to get the police precinct chief and the officers involved fired. They received 110,000 signatures in the first 24 hours. The adoptive mother originally was supposed to receive life for murder in the first trial. However, after the other trials, the adoptive mother was sentenced to 35 years and the father was given 5 years for neglect. The court acknowledges that the adoptive mother was guilty of murder, but explained that it was difficult to see that there are any existing objective reasonings that the adoptive mother should be given the original life sentence, imprisonment, and would permanently keep her from society. The prosecutor sought for the death penalty, saying she intended on killing Jung-in, but ultimately did not get the death penalty. The adoptive mom said she had never intended on killing her, and that was all she really needed to say, because unfortunately she was believed and she was given the reduced sentence to 35 years. Now, I know it says, multiple times that the parents were responsible for her abuse, but by all accounts, it looks like it was really the adoptive mother that was responsible. However, the adoptive father is responsible too, because he saw it and did nothing. They both should be in jail with the same sentence. This little child lost her life because of them. Thank you for being here and listening to her story.